Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. In today's video, we're going to make this multiple box project. This consists of 4 boxes at the bottom. Each is 2.5 inches high by 2 by 2. Each side has 1 box which will open like so. On top, I have a larger box which is 4 inches across and 4.5 inches high. And this opens like so, and then you can see on the outside I have these 4 open pockets, which are of course optional. My thought process is these are large enough for a small jar of jam or clotted cream. This will be for biscuits, and then this I've made to suit tea bags. And of course you can make any of these sections up to suit your particular needs, and the pockets are optional, as indeed are the 4 small boxes at the bottom. You could just have the top box and the pockets on the outside. So without further ado, let's get started. We'll start with the bottom section, which consists of the 4 small boxes, and you'll need 2 pieces of cardstock which are 5 inches by 5 inches. Along all 4 sides, score at 1/2 inch. Flip the piece over and draw a pencil line from top to bottom at 2.5 inches, rotate 90 degrees and repeat at 2.5 inches. So this is going to show how this bottom section is going to split into 4 sections, and these lines are going to give us the guidance for our dividers. So you'll do that twice. Fold and burnish along all of your score lines. We'll now do our cutting, and we'll start by cutting away each of the 4 corners around the outside edge. So this is our piece, and we're now going to cut straight down to the 1/2 inch score line along the pencil line that runs within the tab. So we're going to split each side into 2 sections. Now our side sections, which obviously we haven't cut yet, are going to come around each corner. So one side is going to be fixed and the other side is going to be the door that opens. Depending on how you want the look of these pieces when the door opens, you might want to leave these straight, or you may want to cut them angled as you would a glue tab. So what you could do is, if you work on each square, glue open, so that was going to be one side, glue open, glue open, glue open. So when you come to cut these tabs, if you want the tab that's going to be revealed when you open your door to have a straight edge, leave those as straight edges and just cut a wedge into the ones that you've marked as glue. If you're happy for these to have a wedge on them, then cut a wedge from each of these individual 8 sections all the way around. It just depends how you like the look of your box when you open it. I'm going to take a wedge from each of the ones that I've nominated as glue tabs, and then just make sure you get rid of any of the pencil marks that you may have on the outside tabs, if indeed you did follow this particular process. So you'll have 2 pieces which look something like this, and we can just put those to the side for one moment. The next thing we're going to do is make our dividers, and I've made the dividers so that each section is going to be 2 inches wide and 2.5 inches high. I've therefore got 2 pieces of cardstock which are 3.5 inches by 4 inches, and along the 3.5 inch side, score at 1/2 and 3. So this is going to give me my 2.5 section in the middle. Rotate, and within the top 1/2 inch glue tab that you'll now have, score at 2 inches down to the score line. Rotate 180 degrees, and at 2 inches, score down to 1 3/4 inch. So this is through the 1/2 inch glue tab and then halfway across within the centre 2.5 inch section. So if you imagine, we're going to slot the 2 divider pieces together. So do that on both pieces. You're then going to fold and burnish along the 1/2 inch score lines.
Take your scissors.
We're going to cut down the score line within the 1/2 inch tab just to separate those. Take a slight wedge from the ends of those, rotate, and again we're going to cut through the 1/2 inch score line and along to the end of the additional
Score line.
So we're separating the piece like so, and we're then going to take a wedge from the ends. So you'll have two pieces which look like this. So I'm going to flip this one around. So this has got the cut at the top, this has got the cut at the bottom, and these are going to slot in like so. Now if you need to extend the cut line slightly, you can do that. So I can see that I need to extend the cut line on this second one because we want these score lines to meet. So I'm just going to make that slightly longer. It doesn't matter which one. So if we sit that on there, I can see they're now sitting nicely on top of each other. So we'll stick this into place. We want to work our way around. This tab's going to be this way round. This tab is going to be this way round. This tab is going to be this way round, and this tab is going to be this way round. So that's going to give us a support in each section. So make sure you do that on both the top and the bottom. So that is going to effectively sit like so. And now I'm going to take one of the pieces prepared earlier, and using the glue tabs on the divider section, I'm going to line it up with the pencil lines and stick my dividers into place all the way around like so. Now you might want to take the top one out, stick these two down, get these ones stuck down, and then stick the piece back in and stick it down. Do whatever you think is going to be easier. So that is our 4 divider sections. I'm going to set that aside to dry, and now we'll prepare the sides. So for the sides, I have 4 pieces which are going to be the height of my box. So these are 2.5 inches by 5. Along the 5-inch side, score at half, that's for a glue tab. 2.5, that's my 2-inch section. 4.5, my 2-inch section, and that leaves me 1/2 inch for my lid flap.
We'll do that 4 times.
On each one, fold and burnish along the score lines. From 1/2 inch section, I'm going to take a wedge from the ends. This is our glue tab. This end is going to be my lid flap, as it were. Because it's my personal preference, I'm going to round off the corner, and because the 4 boxes are going to be butted up against each other, I'm not going to be able to put a notch into the section that this is going to sit in to get it open. So I'm going to flip my piece over, take my circle punch, and I'm going to just cut a notch like so. So this will be the door. If you imagine this is the base, this is door, I can get my finger in to get the door open. So the sides are going to come around like so. They will be adhered onto the glue tab at the top and on the bottom on one side. This will be adhered in here. That's going to come around, and then the door is going to slot in like so. So before I stick the lid on, I'm just going to test one, and I did decide to leave my door pieces straight. And if I lay this one into place, I can see that I'm not actually, because I haven't quite cut away the score line here, I can see I'm going to struggle to get this piece in. So I'm just going to go around first and just slightly shape the front edge where the lid is going to fit in, or at least make sure that I've removed the score line. So I'm now going to flip the top over, add glue onto the 4 glue tabs and sit that into place before I add the sides on. Now you might think that you'll find it easier to add your sides on and then add the lid on last. That's entirely up to you. I haven't tried it one way or the other. This is the only one of these I'm making. Just can see some excess cardstock there. So I can't honestly say which is the preferred method because I haven't tried both. I'm going to flip this upside down because I think it will be easier for me to see the pencil lines. And just work my way round, working on one at a time, but working quickly so I've got time to manoeuvre if I need to. So our piece is now ready to add the sides in. So now we can work our way round, add glue to the glue tab on the side section, add glue onto the glue tab of these sections. I'm going to zip that in there, slots down into there nicely, and flip that up to push that in. And then it's going to come across like so. Hopefully you should find that it lines up with the corner. Flip it over. I'm going to move these other tabs out of the way temporarily. So that's sitting down in there like so. I can go in and burnish, push the tabs back in. If I need to trim any, obviously I can. I don't want anything to be catching. And then that is going to come and slot in like so. Okay, so I'm going to do that all the way around. Once the 4 doors and the sides are on, your piece would look something like this. And of course, what you could do if you wanted is have your pieces so that the 2 doors open next to each other. There will be 2 sections, but you've got double doors, as it were. So you don't necessarily need to put your pieces on in the way that I have. I'll put that aside to dry, and this is going to form the base of the top section, which we'll make now. For the top section, I have 2 pieces which are the width of A4 or US letter times 5 inches. Along the A4 or US letter width, score at 4 and 8. And all it means, if you're using A4, you're going to have a 1/4 inch glue tab rather than a 1/2 inch glue tab. Rotate, and along the 5 inch side, score at 4.5. So this is our glue tab to join our piece onto the base, and then the height of the box. Do that on both pieces. Fold and burnish along all of the score lines. I've got my glue tab on the right hand side. I'm going to remove the bottom intersecting section like so. Cut up the 1/2 inch score line to the first horizontal to separate this piece, and then work my way around the 3 sections, taking a wedge from the ends of each like so. Do that on both pieces. We're now going to join our pieces together. Add glue to your glue tab. That will sit on there. Line up your base score lines because you can always trim along the top if you need to. I'm going to fold this end section over. Add glue to the glue tab, flip the side over and join the piece up. So that's the first element of our top section. We've then got the top of this section, and this is a piece which is 5 by 5, and on all 4 sides score at 1/2 inch. Now within this section here, you want to create your access point. Obviously you want it to be as large as possible, but you might want to cut a square into here, which your lid will then fit in, or you might want to cut yourself a circle. The lid we're then going to make slightly bigger than the hole and add a rim to the lid, which is then going to sit down inside the hole. So you might want to consider that when you cut the shape. You might want to cut a hexagon in here with a hexagon die, but your lid is then going to need to be slightly bigger hexagon so it fits over the top of the access point but can slot down inside it. It will make sense as we come to this particular piece. I think I'm going to cut a square into here. I want the square to be as large as possible. I'm going to draw a pencil line 1 inch from the outer edge on all 4 sides. So I'll just use my ruler as a guide. You can obviously make this as large or as small as you need. Bear in mind the items that you're going to put in it. You might want to cut yourself a very dainty access point, but it may not be big enough for you to get your items in, so do take that into consideration. I'm now going to use my craft knife and just cut away this center section within this piece. I've got my access point cut, and I'm now going to fold and burnish along the score lines. Take your scissors and we're going to remove the intersecting corners on all 4 sides. Take a wedge from the ends of each of these glue tabs, and then we're going to add glue onto each of these 4 glue tabs, and this is going to slot down on the inside of this top section. Slot this down in the top, that slots down into there nicely. I can now flip it on its side and go in from the bottom and just push down along the glue tabs around the top. Flip it over, add glue onto the bottom our section. You might want to open the doors just so that there's no chance of any glue, and we're now going to sit that on there. Get everything squared off. That's on there quite nicely, and then I can go in and burnish down the tabs. Whilst that's drying, we can make the lid. And obviously the lid will depend on how big you've made the access hole, what shape you've used, etc. But I will show you the process I'm going to use. The top section is 4 inches. The hole is 3 inches. And I want to leave a 1/4 of an inch gap all the way around. I've therefore cut myself a square, which is 3.5 inches. So that is going to sit on like so. So the next thing we want to do is create the method in which the lid can stay inside the box. To do that, we're going to create a ledge, which we're going to sit onto this piece. I'm going to make the ledge so that each side is a 1/16 of an inch under 3 inches. So you will need to work out your ledge depending on the size of your hole, and the ledge is going to be based on the size of the hole. The first thing I'm going to do is mark a 1/4 of an inch away around on the underside of my lid, and as we did with the base section, use those pencil lines to help me put the rim or the ledge into place. And obviously this process will be different for everyone depending on the look that you want for your particular lid. I've then got 2 strips. These are 1 inch wide and each is 6 3/8 of an inch long. I'm going to score along the 1 inch side at 1/2 inch. I'm then going to make a pencil mark at 1/16 of an inch under 3 inches. Move that along to a track so it's now in the 3 inch track and score. Then I'm going to rotate 180 degrees and score at 1/2 inch. We'll do that twice. Fold and burnish. I'm going to start by splitting the 1/2 inch tab at the end by just cutting up the score line, and then take a wedge from the ends of those.
I'm then going to cut up the centre score line to the centre horizontal score line.
And then I'm going to take a wedge from the ends. We don't actually need this bottom section here, so I'm going to cut that away and cut a wedge at the same time. So your piece will actually end up looking like this. Now join up our pieces. I'm going to add glue onto this tab here. Join up the other end. Make sure everything stays nice and square. And obviously you may be constructing your lips slightly differently depending on what shape you've used. Fold in the remaining tabs. Going to add glue, flip my rim upside down, and I'm going to use the pencil lines as a guide to adhere this into place. Burnish that down. You can see the lid fits. I haven't pushed it down all the way because the glue's not dry, but you can see the lid fits in the top like so.
And now you can either decorate the outside of the box or add on the side sections, as I'm going to do now.
I'm going to make a simple pouch pocket which is going to sit on each side, sized to my specific gift. So I will show you how I've come up with the sizes, and you can then adjust that accordingly to suit your needs. And the side of the top element of the box will form the back of the pouch or the wallet. I'm going to be putting tea bags in mine, and I know that I can fit 5 tea bags into an inch wide pocket. Each tea bag is just over 2.5 inches and 3 inches high. I've cut my cardstock so that I'm going to have, along the longest side, it will allow a 1/2 inch glue tab to stick it onto the side of the box. Then my 1 inch, which is going to accommodate my 5 tea bags. Then I've got my 2.5 inches for the width of my tea bag, then another inch, and then another 1/2 inch. So this piece of cardstock is 5.5 inches, and that is by 4.25 inches. Although my tea bags are 3 inches high, I want a little bit poking out of the top. So I've got 2.75 plus the 1 inch for the depth of the 5 tea bags, which leaves me with a 1/2 inch glue tab. So if you do the height of your object plus the depth of the pouch you need plus a 1/2 inch, and that, if you follow this similar process, that can help you determine the size of pouch that you need for your particular items. We'll fold and burnish along each of the score lines. If you have the piece in this orientation, we're going to start by cutting up the first score line up to the second horizontal and remove that section. Move along to the next score line, cut up to the second horizontal, rotate and remove along the score line to shorten the corner tab. Move along to the next score line, up to the second horizontal. Move along to the final vertical, up to the second horizontal. Remove the end section, and then remove the section below the corner tab. So your piece looks like this. I'm then going to take a wedge from the ends of each of the long glue tabs and then slightly shape the corner glue tabs. We'll add glue onto these sections, pull the tab around like so to create the base of the open pocket, wallet, pouch, whatever you want to call it, like so. And then that is going to sit onto the side of the piece like so. So you can make these to whatever size you so need, and then effectively your piece is ready for decoration. Here's the finished piece. You can see I've decorated each of the box sides around the bottom. I've used my preferred 1/16 of an inch all the way around border. So these are 2 3/8 of an inch by 1 7/8 of an inch. I've added my pattern paper onto the sides. These are 4 3/8 of an inch by 3 7/8 of an inch. The papers I've used are all from the Stamperia Alice collection, and I've used some of the teapot ephemera pieces. I've cut those down to size to sit on the front of my particular wallets. I've added a chipboard element onto the top to create a top of the lid to get the lid out. So that fits in there nicely like so, and I'm really thrilled with how this has come out. So there we have today's project. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.